Welcome back to a very basic space program. It's Mercury Day. Well, it's Mercury launch day. So we're on the pad right now. You can see the Mercury window is technically in 13 days. By the time this launches, it's probably going to be about 12 days. We haven't got enough pads to launch them all at the same time, so we're going to be staggering them so we can roll them out. Anyway, we're going to launch this. We're going to launch a couple of others. We're going to head towards Mercury and yeah, we'll possibly do some other stuff. We've got Mars arrivals coming up, so please join me. So here we are upon the launch pad, and we are launching. Well, we should be launching again with one of our Javelin 75s with its very, very heavy and noisy launch capability. And we're going to take this up into orbit, put it in about 195 by 200 kilometer orbit. Hopefully, and hopefully we'll be able to send this thing to Mercury. So I'm going to get this first stage out of the way because it's very noisy, and I shall see you in but a moment. Right, we have had a fault. We've had a fault go on. I'm just going to have a look. I think we've lost one of our boosts. Yeah, we've lost one of the solids. So we had a bit of an issue on launch there where we're letting the autopilot take it, and I've just had one of the solids explode, and I'm not entirely sure why. Most of their thrusters gone. They're just basically thrusting down now with very slow thrust levels. Of course, they're not designed to decouple because we decided not to do that. We're going to get every ounce of thrust out of them we could. We could decouple them if we were set that up, but we decided not to. Now, my major concern is one of them just blew up. Now, if it had been earlier on in the launch, we would have been problematic, but we have survived because, of course, we're out of the thick stuff. The drag's not so bad. These engines have got a good gimbal on them, but I am concerned that happened. Was that potentially something to do with the craft, or is that something else? Do we have a report? I do not have a report. F3 it maybe? Let's have a look. Failed with explosion? Okay, but the failure has given us valuable data. So the UA1205 blew up. Okay, right. So we know that's a thing that happens. I did not know the solids could just explode like that. Right. Oh, we're on to the next stage now. That's nice. You've missed out on all of the horrendous noise that was going on. We are going to pitch up a bit because we are yet to get ourselves out of the atmosphere. Now, the interesting thing is looking at the numbers. I think, yeah, this was predicting originally that our third stage, this stage here, was actually only going to need to do about 600 meters per second or something. It has now increased that significantly. So I'm not sure what's going on with the ascent guidance, but you notice it pulls up quite sharply after that stage out. It's almost as if it's misreading something. I will have to have a look at it. I would really like to get rid of those fairings at some point soon. I don't want to do it too early though. I'm pretty sure this craft will get to orbit. So let's get to orbit, and then I shall rejoin you. Right, we are on to our final launch stage. You've got the three LR-87 liquid hydrogen vacuum engines. We've got another one of those up there. I always forget that it's the same thing. Although I think these have only got single ignition. That's got double. I have to check. Yeah, I do quite like keeping this attached, although I'm sure it is a complete waste of mass. I just think it looks better because that's an ugly tank under there. Like that, we are in orbit. We've got a little bit of a thrust issue there, but we can not worry about that. We can close everything down, and we are pretty much ready for planning our transfer. So let me go do that. Let's have a look what's going on. We're going to pull out. We're going to have a look at Mercury, which will not be in the most opportune position right now. There we are. Set as target. What's that there? Is that... Oh, that's the Mercury flyby craft, isn't it? So we did manage a flyby of Mercury in the past. That's all right. What we will do is I will decouple that. And we'll activate the RCS. That's good. That's probably a good idea. And let's just try a little bit of thrust away. There we go. Just to move it as away from the target. Right. So we're going to do a maneuver planner. We're going to bring up... let's have a look. Advanced transfer to another planet. I would like a pork chop, please. There we go. And... oh dear. That does not look like a good setup. What's that there? Why is that so low? Include the capture. Ah, right, here we are. So go ASAP. Create node. Okay, so that's going to give me 8-1. That should be enough for that. I just hope that this stage is all right. And that's going to be in an hour and 10. So let us move time forward a little bit. We had a little bit of an orbital change there, interestingly enough. So I may recalculate once we get to like sort of 20 minutes. Do I want to risk it? Risk it for a biscuit? Ooh, I always wonder. I always wonder. One thing I've forgotten is, do we have electric on this? We do, but just in case, we want to put these out. Get these out here. Extend those solar panels. Get them ready. Get them ready. Now, of course, this craft is designed for powering itself once it actually gets to the target. You can see again. This is a tank design you may have seen before. You can guess where you've seen it. I'll let you guess where you've seen the engine there in the center, and then some stuff around it. Just a thought, you might want to look up at it. It's actually a smaller version of our lunar return craft, that section. Right. Let's see. Execute next node. Do I want to do that now? No, we're going to go forward a bit further. The reason being, there we go. Slow it down. Right. Execute next node. There we go. We're going to, the reason I get closer is because this thing has not got balanced thrust in the way I would really like. And so using the RCS is going to throw out our calculations a little bit. And we do not have a lot of delta V to play with. So we'll just let it do its thing nicely. Right. So it's going to be a 4-minute burn. It's going to be most of this tank. We do have excess fuel. We do have excess. We've got quite a lot of excess, actually. It's more a case of the fuel we require when we get there to slow down is going to be the problem. Right, here we go. It's sort of stabilizing. Good. We've got about 7 minutes until till we have to depart, so we're going to click this on. It's a 70-ton vessel. It's a 70-ton stage right now. So this is it's a bit of a big, beefy thing to do. So let's see. It's going to start any second, hopefully, and then it may start the main engines. It may not, or maybe I will do it. There we go. There we go. Have we got an ignition? We have ignition now. We just need this thing to burn for the full time. You know what? I'm going to jinx it by doing this. I'm going to look and see what our mean time for failure. We've got a long mean time for failure, but we're still getting data on these engines. It is not vastly data, right? Considering the amount of engine use we've had of these, most of our transfer stages, recent ones, have been using these. We've got 3 of them on that upper stage that every time we launch a Javelin 75, it gets data. I would have expected there to be more data on this, but we live and we learn. So we'll see what happens. I shall speed this up and I shall see you towards the end of this. Right, after 4 minutes of burning, we are in the last couple of seconds. We're going to see what happens here. Then I'm going to shut this engine down as soon as we get close to... There we go. Right, we're going to shut this down so that it can't fire itself off. So we're using RCS right now. And I want to focus on this. Do we actually have an encounter? That's the question I'm looking at. We do not. So we are missing. Now, how far are we missing it by? That's the question. Is that 2.3 meters per second actually going to make the difference? We seem to be down there. We definitely seem to be down there, but let's have a look. Do I need to pulse something is what I'm actually wondering. So let's have a look. We want to get rid of liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen, because they are not needed right now. We're gonna dump those. So once we get those, then our RCS is a little bit more efficient. The craft in general will move around a bit more. There we go. And this should, hopefully the RCS on this should be able to actually help us a little bit. Let's have a look. Are we any the closer? Are we any the closer? I'm going to let it get to perfect, and then we'll have to think about just how close we are. Right. If it gets close to perfect, I think we're going to be... That's about it, isn't it? Right. There we go. Close that down. Right. Let's have a look. Can we do this with a little bit of... That's going the wrong way, so we're going to do it this way. We are going to use it. First of all, put that on. We're going to use it to basically do this. I'm going to put it in speedy up mode. We're going to do this. We're going to pull ourselves forward. Now, what I want to do is actually put us on retrograde. Put us on retrograde. There we go. Is that going to help us? Yeah, I think that we needed a bit more forward thrust. So we're in retrograde now, burning retrograde to retrograde, so that's prograde. So we should hopefully see an encounter coming up very soon. What's this going to be in 130 days? That's actually going to put us before the Mars window. That might be close. That might be right on the Mars window, actually. So the Mars arrival window will be around then, which would be a little annoying, actually. Right, what are we looking like for for fuel in this stage? I can't check, actually, because it's all merged together, isn't it? We want to get this thing as close as possible. I would love to get within like 100 kilometers of the surface. That would really help us in our capture. The closer we can get to the surface for our capture burn, the better, is what I'm actually thinking. So we just need to keep going, really. There we go. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. And again, we're just doing RCS maneuvers just to, oh, come on. We've got to pause. Are we saving? Why are we saving when I've got my finger on the thrusty buttons? Come on. Right, come on. Still not got an actual sphere of influence interaction type encounter going. Right, I think that's us done, is it? Right. So are we out of the fuels? We are out of the fuels. So I'm going to do that, which is going to be annoying. And then I'm going to do a little bit of translation. Oh, actually, we need to actually turn the avionics on, don't we? Is that avionics there? There we are. So the avionics are on. Good. Get the RCS going. Get everything active. Is that now active? We are now active. Okay. Right. Where is where we've come from? Where's the pit? It's there. We are drifting right, so I can actually turn this thing if I need to. Right. So let's go. There we go. Nope. Nope. Come on. What on earth? Why are we not? Do I not have active RCS on this or something? What is going on with you? Oh, we don't have signal. That's why. Right. Because of course we don't have signal. Because this is why we're trying to keep that stage attached. Right, let's quickly have a look at how are we doing for our next bit. So that's going to be ready in 7 hours. So we're gonna warp that. Do we want to warp that? That was probably a bad idea. That was probably a bad idea because I probably changed my flight path considerably by doing that. Yeah, probably. We've probably glitched everything. Right. We're going to roll out the metal 2. That can be rolling out. Have I now got signal? We have now got signal. Right. So let's go zoom out. Where's my encounter? It is there. Let's right click that. Where's Mercury? Focus view on Mercury. Now let's do a bit of thrusting. I want to go this way. Right, let's get going. Let's go into fancy time warp again and do that. We're going to do this as it's not as efficient as I would like, but we can do this. It might actually be better if I didn't do it like this. If I actually slowed down and we actually put a marker down. Let's put a marker down about here. Where's there? That's in right. That gives me time. That gives me time to do this maneuver. I've got 28 minutes. I'd have loved to have done it round Earth, but that's not going to happen. So let's have a look. Go to the maneuver. Go here. Let's do. Yeah, that's good. So more of that. More forward is good. Right. 17. This is all Delta V. We're going to have to cancel out later on, which is wonderful, isn't it? Right. I think I now have an encounter sphere. No, I do not. Do I not? How have I not got an encounter? So I've lost the encounter by going hard. This is what we're saying. Okay. So what if we do a bit of that? Nope. Do a bit of that. It's back. Bit of that. Bit of that, 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 bit of that. Right, so that's what we're actually needing to do. Right, now we have an encounter. Okay. So now we need to, whoop, no, wrong way. I need to do that and that, then that. All right, this is going to be delicate, I think is the phrase. So we're just going to bring it in like so. And then I'm supposed to do this, aren't I? I start to think that when does this become more efficient to do in sun orbit? It becomes easier in sun orbit. Now, of course, we've gone early, so this is not going to be the nicest of approaches. So let's have a look. How close can we get is the question. I would like to get pretty close. I want to basically be kissing the surface. That is getting closer. That's quite nice. Right. Oh yeah, this is good. That's the one. That's nice. That's nice. That's beautiful. That's the one I want. There we go. That's it. I'll have that, please. I don't believe Mercury sticks up that high. Can I just put the sun there? Is that... I don't think we're going to hit the surface there, but for 36, that's not bad at all, actually, is it? Right. We can... Why is that still up? Why do we leave you up? Go away. Go away. Right. So that's a maneuver in 36 minutes. So I think... Do I do it myself? Yeah, I think I do. I think I'm feeling happy to do this myself. So we're gonna run time forward just a smidgen, and then we're gonna get the craft to actually auto-orientate itself. It's got plenty of power. It's got plenty of control. It can do this for me. We'll get within a couple of minutes of the burn, like so. There we go. Right, and then we're gonna get it onto its node. Thank you. Is it going to? I believe it is. It's not actually making noise when it's orientating, is it? It is working, isn't it? We are thrusting, aren't we? You seem to be thrusting fine. It's very interesting that you are thrusting that way, in fact. Right, I think I might go early. Yeah, let's just see what happens. Let's go for it. It's a 34-second burn. We are going to go over a pole there, which would mean if we captured, they were in a polar orbit, which would be quite nice. Now, and this is the difficult bit, the efficiency of our engines. That's going to be the concern. I think we might have had an engine upgrade available since we built these craft. So that would give us quite a considerable boop to this, but we haven't implemented it. So that is a little bit of a negative. All right, do that. We're gonna RCS it, I think, the rest of the way. Well, I was gonna RCS it the rest of the way, but I'm actually looking at it now and going, oh no, there we are. There we are. Right, that's the one I want to look at now. Right. This is the point where I decide to turn that off, stick this on hold position, and then just do this and do it manually. If I come over the poles, I'm happy. In fact, I'd be very happy to come over the poles. I think that would be absolutely amazing. What's that? That's 700 kilometers. 500, 400, 300. Come on, a bit more. We have now paused because the game has decided now is the most opportune time ever to do stuff. I think we take it to 22. Oof, that is tasty low, isn't it? I'm probably going to regret that because it's too low. Right. Add maneuver. Let's see how much delta V we're going to need. So I want to go retrograde. How much delta V do I need to go retrograde to stop? Oh, this is a lot. It's so much. It is so much to capture around Mercury, isn't it? I mean, we could do gravity assists and stuff, but yeah, this one has failed. Oh, that's annoying. So we've just got too much delta V because I've probably got just a little bit too much. When we were doing the resetting, we probably put a little bit too much delta V in. This was always going to be a tight set of missions, so I'm not massively upset about it. Let us see. Can I bring us in even closer? Nope. Let's bring it in and then bring it out, and there we go. Right, that is as close as I can go. This thing potentially will crash into the surface. So now we're looking, I mean, potentially we're coming over the pole, aren't we? So we're not even getting a gravity assist to capture anything like that. We're not getting, well, yeah, I don't believe we are anyway. I'll have to have a think about it. There are other ways of doing it. You can get bonus distances, in other words. Yeah, there we go. That's it. That's us done. So we're short by 900. That's a lot. That is a lot we are short by. Let's just try something. If I was to pop this on the other side, let's just imagine that it comes over the North Pole. Right, and then we do that. How much is that looking like? I'm just intrigued as to whether poles is going to affect us. Let's have a look. Right, okay, so let's have a look at 7.2. It's not an issue. Okay, so we're going to get flyby data anyway. And then, well, I mean, to be fair, I wonder if we could actually position ourselves. Could we? Right, if that's, yeah, once we're in the sphere of influence of there, I wonder if we could do a plane change, come across the equator. Whether the equator would be any better, we could do a little bit of gravity assist action. The problem is, it's Mercury. You know, this is not an opportune situation, but we're testing craft. So there we go, that's what we're going to live with. So that's that first flight on its way. It will be leaving the sphere of influence in 14 hours. We did lose a bit of delta V from messing around in Earth's sphere of influence, stuff like that. We're probably going to use that with a lot of craft. I think what we're looking at, though, is we're going to need about 7,000 meters per second to capture, which is a lot. That is an awful lot of delta V to capture in this sort of launch pattern. Okay, remember, this is not the most optimal one. So we will launch another one and see what happens. So I will jump away, and I will do that right now as we go into speedy up bit. Yeah, that's right, we're in speedy up mode. That's not the rocket going crazily. So yeah, so the second launch we actually had, as we wobble around a bit there, that is Metal 2. So this is the craft that actually is very similar to the Pathfinder B2 that we've actually been developing. It's sort of the father or the mother of that. It's got a very similar sort of structure, things like that. It's one of its transfer stages is a bit different, but the actual sort of design philosophy behind the probe is pretty much the same. So you can see we're just burning through our Javelin 75, getting it all the way up there into orbit. We've got some little artistic-y type shots, and then we spin around. Look at that. You can actually see that second stage still has quite a high angle of attack, even as it's burning out. And there we got the Hydrolox stage starts with its horrible tank that we won't look at, flipping around all over the place. I know, wow, this is a bit crazy. So we are at 4 times speed, which does make the Hydrolox a little bit more bearable as an engine to fire. And you can see there we're just about to finish off, and there we go. And then it's just about plotting our trajectory. Now, the interesting thing about this one was I was undecided about what to do. We have a really nice window, and we actually launched early because we didn't have enough pads, but I think that with the loss that we'd actually have by waiting a couple of days is actually going to be minor compared to what's going to happen if we go now. So I actually made a decision to sit this in orbit. It's got a couple of layers of insulation on it. We're just going to bring it round, have a look at it, and decide, do we leave it in orbit? Now, the one thing that this craft did do was it actually developed a spin, a significant spin, a spin that I was not particularly happy with. So what we're actually doing is, before I actually plot out the final maneuver, I actually bring the spin under control as well, because that's going to affect our orbit just a little bit. The off-center nature of our thrusters and everything like that just throws it off a bit. So there you go. You can see me recalculating things and going, okay, what's the best one? Have a little think about it. And in the end, I decide, you know what? Instead of watching this one all the way through, I might actually be able to jump and launch another craft. So what actually ends up happening is we launch Pathfinder B2 to Mercury. And we do that before we actually do our transfer burn. So the window between these was with the same date. So we could have actually, we could have, I was actually looking at the launch profile for this. I think it was about a 3-hour difference or something like that. So what we actually end up doing is this will go into orbit, and then before it swings around to do its departure burn, we're actually going to have the other craft launch, because it is that sort of tight on their windows. So this is basically just going to be bring it into orbit. And of course you've seen this before. You can see that final sort of push stage, capture stage that's on the top there is a little different on here than it is on the Metal 2. The Metal 2 has the AJ47, AJ37 engine that is from the Apollo service module, whereas this has some, I believe they're Russian engines, I believe, or at least they're Soviet. They might actually be from the Ukraine or somewhere like that, because of course Russia did a lot of development elsewhere, or the Soviets did it spread around. So there you go, you can see we're back with our Metal 2, and you can see a lovely shot of its little final transfer stage or capture stage there. And you can see just how big that engine bell actually is on there. It's actually staggering, I think. So there we go, we actually took one burn to put this orientated correctly, because it was just not orientating. So I fired the engines to put it onto the node because its RCS was just not functional. I think we actually ended up using most of the RCS up. I actually had some RCS left, but it was tight, shall we say. So we were now firing the rest of the RCS off, because I know that this stage is not going to have enough. I think that we're probably going to have to put a little bit of a push in there. Oh, you see the at the top there, there we go, and then we're firing the AJ engine just to launch us out of there. And yeah, it's a very big engine, isn't it? I mean, it is actually quite staggering how large its engine bell is for what it does. It's it's a chunky boy, let's just say that. So we fire that out there, and that gets us somewhere near where we want to be. Now, as seems to be always the case, the engine going off sets into a spin, and I think that's partly because we start to chase the node, so the engine starts to gimbal. Now, the other problem with this is this craft, once we have released the hydrolock stage, does not have a short-range transmitter on it. It doesn't have an omnidirectional transmitter, so it does have a dish, but that is only going to point in one direction. Then it's going to point back to the Earth, and there's nothing. I could potentially target a base station, but it's a bit of a faff. So what we actually end up doing is waiting until it moves a bit further from Earth to get signal, and then we start plotting. We start plotting our maneuvers, and you can see here, we're doing a little bit of stuff here. I can't remember. I think we did a lot of radial burns in the end. I played around with the prograde retrograde, and I was just trying to get this. Now, considering Mercury is quite small, this isn't the easiest of things to do, and I think we've just about got it. But you can see whenever we go a little bit too far, it just loses it. So you end up fiddling around quite a lot with it, and this took, well, you can see on the clock, it took a significant amount of time. I think this is sped up 4 or 5 times over what happened. So you can see me just jumping backwards and forwards all the time, trying to get this maneuver just to get closer. And of course, every time I lose the closest approach, I have to reselect the actual markers for it when they reappear. Otherwise, it just won't hold the data. Interestingly, I've noticed that ascending and descending nodes do seem to be starting to show up long term, so that's good. And there you can see, now we're in the sphere of influence with our prediction. We can actually get a bit clever, and we're going to try and put it on the equator. And this is where I have to start thinking, which side of the planet do I want it to go on? And I start thinking, oh, do I have enough to capture on this side? And this one, I actually put it in the prograde, and it wasn't getting closer because I was looking at the wrong way around. There you go. So we can see that we've got a chunk of stuff there. And then accidentally, I accidentally deleted the node that I just created. Yeah. Note to self, don't do that. Go to the correct node, delete the correct node, and then there you go. So this time it was a little quicker. I knew what I was looking for, and I knew where I wanted to put it, and it actually took no time at all this time. Once you figured out what is actually required to get close approach, it becomes a little easier. And I actually think we did it a little more efficiently actually the second time. I'm not entirely sure. I think it was probably better for the rendezvous. But yeah, so there we go. We just spin around, and then we're going to fire this. We're going to use this stage to do it. Now remember, this is taking fuel that we're going to use to try and capture. And we use a bit of RCS, and there we go. Now, of course, the RCS on that stage uses the same fuel as the engine. Both are pressurized, but the engine uses a pressurized tank. The Pathfinder 2B actually uses a different arrangement. We actually have to have hydrox tanks on there and stuff like that. Not hydrox tanks. We have to have special pressurized tanks because the RCS requires pressurization, but the engines don't. They run on a turbo pump. So we have to use them for ullage and things like that. Now, interestingly, yeah, you can actually see here. Interestingly, we do have those extra tankages on there, but the Metal 2 has those tanks, even though it doesn't need them. We could actually just have one big tank, stuck on there, and we don't. And I'm not entirely sure why that is. I think it's possibly when I was designing it, I was looking at using different fuels for things, and then I decided to go for the same fuel, so that's a possibility. Anyway, we're on to Pathfinder B2, and it's going to do the same thing. We're gonna do our little escape burn here, and this one went a little bit easier. The wasn't as much of a tumble when it was going around. It fired off. We're firing the RCS right now because, again, the RCS on the Hydrolux stage is in those little pellets. It actually just burning it off makes the Hydrolux more efficient. In fact, we're getting more bang for our buck from the Hydrolux. The more we could burn that off, because it was just wasted fuel otherwise. Now, to be the most optimal as possible, I could have just kept burning that. That wasn't going to help me though. So we stage it, and we start off with those 4, I can't even remember what the engines are, but I believe they are Soviet engines. And then we get onto the where we want to be with the Delta V, and I shut all the engines down. I don't want them to do anything. What I do want to do is I want to have a look and see, right, what are you doing? And I can't do anything with the nodes. And that's a killer, isn't it? So we end up getting rid of the nodes, and you can see we're actually very close. This one was a good departure burn, a very good departure burn, in fact. So you're now going to see we're going to pull it out until we get a connection, which is just soon. There we go. We got a connection, and then we put a little maneuver node in. We're going to do it about 6 to 20 minutes away. It would be nice if we could do it around Earth because you get more bang for your buck. But you know what? We do have enough fuel, I think, on this craft to do it. Unless we get an engine failure or something like that. Right, and then we just bring it in because we were so close already. We're going to put itself. Well, we're going to go at a bit of an angle. We don't mind having a bit of an odd angle. Set this, and then I'm just going to bring it in and capture. And I can see how much the capture is. And this time I'm not going to mess it up by closing the wrong thing. You see there, I almost closed the wrong thing. So we have a 20, like a 20 or so meter per second burn. I don't need to use all 4 engines for this. In fact, it's probably detrimental to do it because we'll overshoot and I'll have to RCS anyway. So what do? Well, we turn 2 of them off. We're going to save them. We're going to save them for when we need them. There we go, RCS fire. And of course I do the RCS and all that as late as possible, just so we don't throw ourselves off much. And there we go, fire the engines, and we should be perfect, kissing the surface. It's a little tight, so we use a little bit of RCS just to pull it back. And there we go, all good. I mean, we can see now that we're going to have we should have more than enough fuel to do that and to bring us down into a tight orbit. I may also want to put it into a polar orbit. I haven't decided at this point. So I have a little look around. We're going to make sure that there's some markers there. We're going to pull the craft out of the Earth's sphere of influence because I would just want them out of the Earth's sphere of influence, make sure nothing else happens while that's going on. There we go. And that's us done. So from me, until next time, have a great one.